It is 12:59. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica, and welcome to the first NFL Gameday of the 2022 season, kicking off tonight between the Buffalo Bills and the Los Angeles Rams at SoFi Stadium for Thursday night football. Rams in the news today, extending general manager Les Snead and head coach Sean McVay through 2026. Some college football extension news earlier today as Clemson reportedly has approved a new contract for head coach Dabo Swinney. 10 years, $115 million. That makes him the second highest paid coach in college football, right behind Alabama head coach Nick Saban. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday to you. Just saw this news. I mean, I know it's a sports talk show, but this is a world event. Queen Elizabeth has passed away at age 96.
Oh.
They just did a thing where they honored her, and like Queen played, and they had all these concerts. I've got some friends who live in a suburb of London, and their town had a celebration, and they celebrated her, and that's a long, long life that she lived, but has passed away at 96 years of age.
What I got out of that conversation is you have some friends in London. But that's what I got out of that.
That I met in line to see the Liberty Bell.
Oh, okay.
And we became like pen pals. So, yeah.
Pals.
I got friends who are, well, he's actually German. She's English. People don't care. Anyway, yes, I have some friends who live in a suburb of London who keep me on top of everything that happens over there. I'll have to check my messages. I'm sure he sent me something today about this. So we need any inside information. I have a correspondent, my friend Mark over there.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because this kind of leads a little more on the darker side of today. I went to Mark Howard's funeral and his family and a lot of representatives from all over the place in the sports industry were attending there. And, I learned something even with Mark no longer with us here. And I know a lot of people may know, but not really. I was heard rumors, but I didn't know that Mark Howard's real name is Howard Mark Levinson. And that when he was in another market years ago, he couldn't use Howard Levinson. So his real name is Howard Mark Levinson, not Mark Howard.
You just found that out?
Well, the whole totality. People were talking about it, years ago, but no, yeah. I didn't hear it out of his mouth. I worked with him. So
wow.
So that, that was kind of interesting. But with me bringing that up to Mickey, because everybody acts like they knew, now everybody knows. All the millions of people that listen to the Blaine and Mickey show now know across the country.
The world
Mickey
even.
Then tells me what his real name is. Steven.
This is a shock to me, too.
I am baffled. I feel shunned because I'm his partner, and I knew nothing about it. Only because I brought up that Howard Mark Levinson's name. And then he goes on to tell me, he said, it should be called the Woody and Steven Show.
I mean, for as much as we've talked about youth nicknames here and you being Woody for your whole life, I'm shocked this has never come out.
Mickey, and here's what his answer would be. Well, you never asked me. That's what his answer was. So what is your birth certificate name?
Stephen Michael Ryan. I'm not even named Mickey.
Stephen Michael.
Stephen Michael.
Oh, what did a popular singer? It was what was his name? Singer. It wasn't Stephen Michael, but it was Michael.
George Michael of Wham.
Yeah, George Michael.
No, I'm not related.
All right.
I wish I was. He's a fantastic singer.
So
no relation to George Michael.
Ryan.
Yeah, Stephen Michael. Only my mother called me that, and some college professors when you sit down and whatever the name is on the roll. But when we moved back to Arkansas, I lived here for 13 years, and then we go back there for 5, and then we've been back here for about 8. My daughter was little, and we were just at the mall, and I saw this lady who was an English teacher at Arkansas State, and she passed me in the mall. I hadn't seen her in 20-something years, and she said, well, hello, Stephen. And my daughter looked at me like I had lived a whole nother life she didn't know about.
Yeah.
And I said,
So even your daughter didn't know.
No, she was little. She had no idea.
Oh, my. Watch this. How about this? Personal question here. Wait, does your wife know that your name is
Yeah, she knows.
Steven?
Yeah. I mean, it's on like the marriage certificate. She knows. It's on my driver's license.
Wait, does your
Oh,
mom
it is.
still call you Steven?
Does anyone call me that?
And your family?
Anybody, your mom,
In your
anybody?
family?
No,
that you grew up
nobody. No. So when I was little, I was probably 8 or 9 years old.
So where did Mickey come from?
I asked my mom, I said, why do you guys call me Mickey? That's not my name. And my mom's like, I don't know. Ask your dad. He was there when everything happened. So I go outside and find my dad. He's out, chainsawing something.
Get to
or
the bottom of this.
Burning
I know, right?
something or, nailing something. He was always outside breaking something and repairing it.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, why do you guys call me Mickey? And my dad was just very plain spoken. And he's like, because that's your name. I said, it's not my name. That's not my name. And he said, did you ask your mom? I said, yeah, she can't explain it. He goes, I don't know. We just always called you that. So he said, ask your granny. So that's my mother's mother. So she lived just down the road. So we were over there the next day. And I said, Granny, why do they call me Mickey? Both my parents say they don't know. And my dad said to ask you. This isn't even his mom. It's my mother's mother.
So she's the one start calling you.
And she goes, and my granny was like the most country person. She goes, well, the way I remember it is. She spoke about herself in third person like Deion Sanders' son. She said, the way Granny remembers it is, they wrote on your birth certificate, Stephen Michael. I was like, yes, that's it. And she goes, but then when we packed up the bags to take you home, they said, let's get Mickey. And I was like, that still doesn't explain anything. This tells me nothing. And she's like,
I'm more confused.
so she said, all I know is that's what they was always calling you. And I said, I never ask anybody again.
You never.
My parents named me. My grandmother was there. No one knew. So I thought.
So it wasn't because of how I caught the woodchucker because I was big and fat.
No.
But you didn't get Mickey for nothing.
No. My dad's name was Stephen Leo. His dad's name was Stephen Leo.
But did he have a nickname?
No, Steve.
Oh.
And so my dad said, I didn't want to name you Leo. No kid should have that name. I never used it. I didn't think you should. My dad, again, plain spoken. I didn't want to name you Leo.
My cat's name.
Well, why didn't you then, when you were doing TV or even real estate, wanted to go by Steven, why did you continue it on and keep Mickey?
My first TV job, I was a news reporter,
See?
and they called me Stephen.
See, that's what
they said
Howard Mark was doing.
They said, you can't have the name Mickey and come on and talk about a house fire.
Right.
I said, what does my name have to do with it?
Oh, everything.
So
they're not going to take you seriously.
So we compromised. On my news cards, it said, KAIT, your good neighbor station, because all TV stations in small towns have stupid slogans like that. And it said Stephen, in parentheses, Mickey Ryan. And I'd grown up there. Like, people knew me. But they had no idea why I was using that name. Boy, this was a turn on the show.
That is amazing.
That's awesome. I mean, we got to tweet that out. Anybody, or they can, type in a name that you go by, and really no one knows your real name or a nickname that you used to have that you go by, and you have no idea why you're called this.
Well,
I bet there's a lot of people out there like that.
Surely you remember this. When I first moved back to town, and you and Brent Doherty and me were on 3HL, one day something came up with Brent, and Brent said, my name is actually Brenton Edward Childs. And Brent, if you're listening, I believe that's right. And you said, my name is Elwood.
Yeah.
And
My
I was
middle name.
Yes. And I said, who are you people? And so
And then you up and keep it
and
secret.
then
Who are
I
you?
literally have the same thing.
I had no idea.
Elwood makes me think of the Blues Brothers. I love
Yes.
that name.
Yeah, Elwood, man. That was my.
So you and Brent
Elwood.
had these complete other names, and I'd been called Mickey so much, I didn't even think of myself as being the exact same thing. It didn't even cross my mind till like 6 weeks later. I'm like, oh, shoot, I probably should have told them I had other names too.
So funny.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steven. You
You're
have now
welcome,
been tuning in to the Blaine and Steven Show.
No, it's the Woody and Steven show.
The Woody and Steven Show. That's right, the Woody and Steven Show.
Woodchuck and Steve.
It's the opposite, though. My nickname or your real name. Right now, we're my real name and your nickname.
So Andrew says, my nickname in high school was Lunchbox.
No.
Derek says, okay, then good afternoon, Blaine and Steven.
Yeah. So, Lucas, do we know any? Now I want to go around and ask everybody: is there any name that you used to go by, like or a nickname or anything?
When I was in high school growing up, my last name is Panzika. So on my soccer team, all the guys that were from Mexico called me Pachuca because Pachuca is a huge city in Mexico. It's a big soccer club in Mexico.
Pachuca.
So they called me Pachuca, and that went down to Chuca. People started calling me Chuca, and then it kind of got whittled down to Juke. And I was Juke for the last 2 years of high school. It kind of carried over to college, and I still have friends that call me either Chuca or Juke.
Oh, I'm glad I asked.
It's a cool nickname because it sounds that's cool. Juke sounds like really athletic, like because I was juking people out. And it's not the case. It's not the case.
Well, but you can tell your kids that eventually at some point you were
they call me Juke because nobody could keep up with Dad.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's
Juking people all over the pitch.
Chuka to Juke.
Juke.
Wow.
Why not to Chuke?
Yeah, that never made sense. Like nobody.
I mean, if you're going to
just
shorten it, didn't you change the first letter?
Yes,
Chuka became
I had
Juke.
no control over it.
Okay.
Yeah, this all started with the blessing of Queen Elizabeth and Howard Mark Levinson.
Yes, sir. By the way, Jason in Nashville wanted to talk about the one and only Mark Howard.
Goose.
And he's
Goose.
on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Jason, thank you for calling. How you doing?
Hey, man, thanks for taking my call. Hey, Blaine, I know you done been through a lot of people on this, man, but I used to call in every morning on the wake-up zone. Matter of fact, I listened to them before you had came on, but I just remember a lot of times me calling in about the Niners and Mark Howard. No, they're not going to be that good this year, and then I kept giving them, problems, as they progressed through the season.
Yep, I
know
remember that.
You remember that?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And man, even before that, man, I just, like when I hear Mark Howard's voice, man, it just reminds me of, man, when I used to listen to him and Frank Wycheck go at it every morning. I can hear him saying in my mind, "Oh, come on, Frank." I just remember that because, Frank Wycheck used to have a candy bar out under his name.
Mm-hmm.
If you look it up, and they got into a big ordeal. But to be honest with y'all, I won a lot of Genesis Diamonds cards because I knew how to play them against each other. And so whenever we would do that contest in the morning, I used their emotions against each other. And I had like 3 or 4 Genesis Diamond cards, but just looking back on that, man, I really appreciated him, man, and his personality, man. I miss that, man, for real.
Yeah.
Well, y'all have a blessed day, man. Thanks, man.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, Mark Howard is a legend in this industry. People can say what they want to say. He was one of the sharpest and brightest. When it comes to sports, I mean, even more than that. But, man, this guy had an encyclopedia in his brain. He knew any and everything at all times, man. I mean, he was always reading books, man. I was like, man, he was special. Watch this. By the special, I'm like, I just know numbers. Guys, numbers on the field. Except he also knows a whole body of work of all sports industries, from Predators to Titans to baseball. I mean, he knew it, man. He was pretty awesome, man. That was pretty intriguing just to even work with him and just see him live for that year that I worked with him. Like, wow, this guy's off the charts, man. He's a legend, man. Bless him and his family, man, for sure.
Son Jack, who's
Jack
just a
was
total
there.
sweetheart. Jack,
Mm-hmm.
love you, man. And
Yeah, Jack mentioned you at the funeral too.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He did.
I'm just eating lunch with my son at school. I hated to miss it, but yeah. And you pointed this out about him. You said it was kind of a who's who, and you realize he worked with everybody. He worked for the Predators,
the
and he did the Titans pregame, and he did
Channel
this
5
TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was like a legend at 5 things.
Yeah,
like
I hope Hines
everything.
did the eulogy. He was incredible. I mean, he showed Mark. They had him on air in Channel 5 when he was in his younger days, and show him all the different things he would do and make fun of him. And it was great, man. It was awesome to see him in a whole different light. When he was thin and he was full of hair,
that bushy hair.
Oh
Yes.
man, boy, I was like, oh, Mark was a ladies' man when he first got here, and watch his 1986. I learned that too when I was there. He got here. That's when they hired him there at Channel 5. So it was pretty unique just to hear all
Well,
that stuff.
heck of a run, and Blaine, you got to spend a lot of time with him, and I got to work with him too, and we were honored to share a microphone
Great
and work with a guy like that.
Loved
who was
sports, man.
Absolutely,
He
boy,
loved
did
it.
he ever!
He loved it.
He loved his son, and he loved sports, and loved life, and we sure will miss him. And Rest in peace, Mark. All right, when we come back, we'll talk sports because that's what he would have done, and that's what he loved doing. And Chelsa Messinger is going to join us. By the way, there's NFL football tonight. We'll ask her what she likes with this game and the Titans and maybe some college football. We'll get to all that next on Blaine and Mickey.
All right, Steven.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Is NFL football on your TV tonight or your radio or, I don't know, a computer? You can watch it on an Apple Watch, maybe. I don't know. Any place you choose to consume NFL football, it's really on tonight. So why don't we talk to somebody who could tell you maybe how to watch the game and make a little money? Chelsa Messinger joins us now, the host of the Daily Tip.
Yeah, Chelsea, tell us, do you have any nickname that people used to call you by? You know,
people
or a different name. Mm-hmm.
No, because people have so much trouble getting my real name right, Chelsa, which I know is kind of a unique name, that there is absolutely no need for nicknames, because usually I just get called Chelsea, so I guess we will call that a nickname.
But you ever know? You never
I always
noticed.
catch myself too, because it's so easy to say it though.
But like in your swimmer days, they didn't call you Lightning or the Little Mermaid or any. You didn't have any like athletic related nicknames or anything.
I think that's a male thing. Like, I think if you play football
Yeah, that's
or
true.
baseball,
That is true.
You know, because I think like every male at my high school had some kind of nickname. To this day, I don't know what some of their actual names are. Like, couldn't tell you. And I talked to them a million times. But that's what it's like growing up in the South and most guys that play football.
That is funny though that guys like your husband's a baseball player, right? I'm sure he had nicknames just because everybody does in sports. But that's funny that you say it's more of a guy thing than a lady thing. That guys always have some dumb nickname. I guess we all do.
Well,
Yeah.
well,
I'm
Chelsea,
glad
you
that people are using my actual name, though.
Oh,
Not
but
Chelsea.
yeah, Chelsea, just know that you are not talking to Mickey. You are talking to Steven. That is Mickey's real name, and that's how this topic all came about.
Yeah, I've been living a lie.
I did
have
not
other
know
names.
that, and he's my partner in crime, and how do I not know that that's not his real name? I thought all this time I've been knowing him, his real name was Mickey.
Well, a lot of people have on-air names, you know, where it's not their real name.
See,
I've noticed some on TV where they want it to sound like a little easier to say, to roll off the tongue. So he's not alone.
Well, he didn't make that up. He didn't even know why he was called
Nobody
Mickey.
in my family could even tell me why they called me that.
So what are the odds, going back to gambling, that happens all the time?
That you have a name that nobody could tell you how you got. That's got to be some pretty long odds.
It's not your real name.
Yes.
I think it's not that long in the South. Like I said, there was a guy at my high school that was, his nickname was Toots. And I have no idea why his nickname was Toots.
Oh, Toots.
And Toots.
Toots. Yeah, I can get it right. I can't hear either. You could tell.
We are going down a road here with Chelsa Messinger, host of the Daily Tip. You can get up early. You can catch that every morning. Let's just start with this.
Toots.
There is an actual NFL game tonight, Rams and Bills. Tell us who you like, what you like about this particular game.
Yeah, let's take a look at where the action is headed in Rams and Bills, as 57% of the bets right now and 68% of the money all over the Bills. People are really loving the Bills this season. Obviously, they're the favorites to win the Super Bowl. 76% of the money on the over 52, as people are expecting a ton of points in this one. But here's the trend that's really caught my eye. Rams are 3-0 straight up as underdogs last season. When they were getting points, it wasn't many times, but they have been good in this role. And dating back to 2020, the Rams 7-3 against the number when getting points. So I think there is a little disrespect for this Rams team at home getting points. They have some continuity at quarterback with Matt Stafford. And I get it. The Bills are everybody's trendy pick to win the Super Bowl. But I think the points are just too tough for me to pass up.
Are there some props that you like in this one?
Yeah, I think looking at the matchup, you don't run against the Rams. They had one of the best run defenses in the NFL last season. And plus, the Bills don't really like running the football anyway. So I think the way you play that is take a look at the passing attempts prop for Josh Allen, going over 35.5 passing attempts for -130 over at BetMGM, just because I think that's going to be the game script. And plus, if you think it's going to be a close game and if you think it's going to be high scoring, I think we see a lot of passing, because obviously, unless it's a blowout, you'll see both of these quarterbacks going back and forth. And Josh Allen didn't really average that many passing attempts last season because a lot of the games were blowouts. And he didn't play many really good run defenses. When he played a top 5 run defense, he hit this number in 2 of 3 games. Against the Titans, he went way over this. Against the Bucks, he went way over this number. Only time he didn't was against the Saints because that was a blowout game. So Josh Allen over 35.5 pass attempts.
Getting our learn on here with Chelsa Messinger of the Daily Tip.
Well, Chelsea, I guess since you're doing the prop bets, I want to know 2 prop bets. It's really for the entire season. That is prop bets for first quarterback to get benched and the coach that is on the hottest of hot seats.
First quarterback to get benched. I did not know that was a bet you could make.
Oh, I don't know. You're teaching me. I don't gamble. I don't bet. So actually, every time I ask you a question, just act like, he knows nothing. So you're educating me and hopefully then our listeners too at the same time. I'm not a big gambler, but maybe at some point I will.
Well, here's something you can kind of pivot off of that question.
Okay.
Is Kenny Pickett remains the favorite as NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, but yet he is not the starter. So I would imagine that Mitch Trubisky's days are numbered as the starting quarterback of the Steelers.
And coach on the hot seat, that is a prop bet, right?
I am not sure. I know Coach of the Year is a bet you can make. But I would imagine Matt Rule, if he doesn't get it together in Carolina, it's going to be a tough sell to keep him around just because that offense has been god-awful. But I would imagine that Baker Mayfield, he has to be better than the quarterbacks they've been running through Carolina. Sam Darnold might be one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL in the last 10 years. So if he can just be decent, I think the Panthers will be better, but probably Matt Rule.
All righty. Well, we have to talk about the Titans, and naturally the king. Is he back? Is he the same? Do you love this or hate it? He's going to get over 1,400 yards this season rushing. I don't know what the number is, but I'm going to go 1,400.
Oh, I think it's a pretty low number for Derrick Henry, if I'm remembering correctly, just because I think people are cautious to back this because of the injury concerns and because he is coming off a pretty significant injury. But I think the opportunity is still going to be there because we all know the Titans love to run the football. So I think I would be on the over, whatever it is, because he was, I believe, 6th in the NFL in rushing yards, despite only playing, 8 games or something. Yeah. So I think I would still put my money on the over. And I like him to score a second-half touchdown on Sunday's game. It's a very specific bet, but we've seen this Titans offense get off to a really slow start in some of these games. I think they really get going in the second half, and that's the only way you can get plus money on Derrick Henry to score a touchdown.
Well, I know the Rams and the Bills play tonight, but I don't know if this was a joke or not, but OBJ kind of mentioned that he was kind of toying with both of those teams. I wonder which team I'll sign with. Jokes or not, what are the odds on what team he ends up? I'm sure it's the Rams, but anybody else on the list?
I don't think that's something you can bet on in the market, but I can tell you he's probably not going to the Browns.
Right.
I have no idea. I'm not going to lie. But there is a receiving prop I like in the Rams game tonight. It's not OBJ, but it's a receiver for the Rams, Allen Robinson, who is taking over as wide receiver number 2 for the Rams, especially since Van Jefferson is out. I think we see a big game from Allen Robinson. All the reports out of training camp have been glowing about the guy who is coming over from the Bears. I think he goes over his receiving prop of 64.5 receiving yards tonight.
Well, I know they have to have this prop. That is, who is moving up the ladder? Who is the leader in the campfire for the Heisman?
Oh, man. Are you guys drinking the Kool-Aid on Anthony Richardson? I think that's one that it's
I'm Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, it's because usually the way the Heisman works, it's not the best player. It is usually the quarterback on the best team or somebody from Alabama. So I'm going to talk you off of Stetson Bennett just because I think he's going to put up good enough numbers. And if Georgia is as dominant as we saw on Saturday, then that's probably how it's going to go because we know the gentle nudge always goes to the quarterback and the team actually has to be good. And I think that's what's kind of staying in the way of Anthony Richardson.
Now, this is your lingo. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. I'm trying to get the hang of this. Best bets for the first week of the NFL. What are they? Is that right?
Oh, yeah. I'll be on the Ravens -7. If we know the Ravens they're good at one thing, and that is beating up on bad teams. If you remember over the past few years, back when the Bengals were bad, all of those final scores would be like 31-0. And nobody enters the season like the Ravens. We know that the preseason, they're ready to go because we all know that John Harbaugh is very concerned with his preseason record. That's why they've won so many games in the preseason. But looking at the Jets, last season, they allowed the most rushing touchdowns of any team in the NFL. And they're going against the Ravens, a team that loves to run the football. I think that is a terrible matchup. I'll be on the Ravens laying the 7.
Host of the Daily Tip, national sports betting radio show at Odyssey, Chelsa Messinger.
All right, you've tossed out a couple of player props that you like. Give us a couple more over the full spectrum of games through Monday night.
Yeah, I was just talking about bad rush defenses. The number one worst rush defense in the entire NFL last season, statistically speaking, was the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm going to pick on them this week. I'm going to go with Joe Mixon, the running back for the Cincinnati Bengals, over 70.5 yards rushing. He absolutely obliterated the Steelers last season. And his first game against the Steelers went 90 yards rushing. Second game of the season against the Steelers, 165 rush yards. So I think that is a solid play for me. Joe Mixon over 70.5 rush yards for -115.
Let's switch to some college stuff. Vols and Pitt. What's Tennessee? Were they a 6-point favorite this morning? They got to go on the road to Pitt. Pitt beat them last year. How do you kind of see this game playing out?
I think you sit back and you hope for points. I believe this is going to be an over matchup because I don't have to tell you twice that Tennessee is very good when it comes to their offense and one of the fastest tempos we have seen in college football. In fact, last season, they had the fastest tempo of anybody in college football. So they're running, they're gunning, and I think they're going to score some points. And initially on paper, I thought, well, Pitt has a great defensive line. Maybe they can get some pressure. Well, they just gave up 31 points to West Virginia. So I think Tennessee is going to score points in bunches. And I think you just play the over. I think it's 66.5. I think we will see it sail over that. I think we see a scoring fest in this one.
Speaking of scoring fest, everybody seems like they're going to have one against Hawaii. I don't know if I've ever seen a 50, maybe I have, a 51-point line, Michigan by 51 favored over Hawaii. And to me, that doesn't even seem exorbitant based on what we saw with Hawaii and Vanderbilt in week 1.
Oh, my gosh. Do not bet a 51.5-point spread because Michigan can win 51-0 and you will lose your bet. I think the problem is when you're looking at Michigan, I know they're in a quarterback battle, and I think the better quarterback, or at least that's the rumors, he's going to be the one starting, so maybe the offense is better. But still, I don't think they're going to want to put all of their offensive game plan on game film to give it away, for their Big Ten opponent. So I think that's a stay away. I think when you're looking at a spread that big, there are plenty other games on the board beside that one.
All right, I'm going to get sucked in by that. Chelsa Messinger, our guest from the Daily Tip.
Chelsa, I guess how many home dogs are in week 1? Because it seems like most of the time home teams win, right? Or no, in the opening week of the NFL?
All right, I've got a stat for you because in week 1, divisional dogs have been cash money. If you look over the past several years, since 2014, divisional dogs in week 1 of the NFL, 28-9-2 against the spread. That's 76%. So if you're looking at your card this week and you're thinking, which dog should I pick, take a long, hard look at those divisional dogs because usually those are good matchups in week 1. We have a couple of them that I think are warranting an extra look, probably the Steelers plus 6.5 against the Bengals, and also the Vikings getting a lot of love against the Packers plus 1.5. I don't think I'm on the Vikings, but might be taking a gamble on the Steelers.
What about the Colts at the Texans? Where are we at there?
God. Oh, God.
I hit a button, huh?
Well, here's the thing. Like, the Colts have beaten the brakes off the Texans in years past. And last year, I believe none of those scores were even remotely close. I think it's just the fact that it's week 1 and teams are getting their feet beneath them, especially for the Colts, who it's going to be Matt Ryan who has to learn the new offense, learn his new receivers and everything. And I am ready for the Colts to be humbled because the national media will not stop talking about Matt Ryan and how much of an upgrade he is over Carson Wentz. And you would think this guy is 31 in his prime. So just a little tired of hearing that narrative. I'm sure you guys have seen this, but I'll be rooting for the Texans.
All righty. New England at Dolphins, and I know New England's been down there for a week because they want to get adjusted to the heat. Is that going to matter?
I don't think so, because the problem is Miami has had the Patriots number for a long time. Even when Tom Brady was the quarterback, it's been the Dolphins absolutely owning the Patriots, and I think Bill Belichick probably knows that. I like this when it was at 3. If you could get Miami only laying a field goal, I think that's a good bet, but 3.5 scares me a little bit because in those situations, usually Miami is getting points, but now the tables have turned, and Miami is now the favorite in this one, and they're a team that still has some big questions. Will Tua finally figure it out? Can Tyreek Hill adjust to having a quarterback that can't get it down the field, allegedly? So I think that's a stay away for me unless it gets to 3, and I will be on the Dolphins.
I guess lastly for me, any movement from now until kickoff that you've seen that's kind of, worthy of conversation?
Yeah, a ton of people are on the Giants. 86%
What?
of the money. Yeah, 86% of the bets of the money is on the Giants to cover against the Titans, which is strange because the Giants have not been good in season openers. They're 0-5-1 against the spread in their last 6 season openers. I think why people are on them is because the Titans have not been good out of the gate either. 1-5 against the number in their last 6 openers. And also, they haven't been great as favorites. If you remember, they lost to the Jets last year, and 2-4 against the spread as favorites over their last 10 games. So for me, I usually love betting on the Titans when they're getting points, not necessarily when they are laying points. But the public, not on the Titans this week.
Chelsa Messinger, host of the Daily Tip. Yeah, so easy, right?
All right. On the way out, when we were sending our confirmation messages back and forth through the week, you had said to ask you about the biggest week 1 betting trends. So enlighten us on the way out with that.
Yeah, I was talking about those divisional dogs being the biggest trend, but underdogs in general have been pretty profitable. Over the past 10 years, underdogs have gone 89, 67, and 4 in week 1 of the NFL. That's good for 57%, hitting at 57%. And it just, I would say, expect some chaos. Like, don't just take all the favorites because that's what the NFL is, chaos. If you remember last year, the Steelers upset the Bills at home in week 1. So just because you see some of these games and think, oh, well, there's no way this team's going to win, you need to do a little rewind of the NFL because there's so much parity in the NFL. Some of these games are going to be a little chaos this week, especially when it comes to week 1.
I hope there's chaos because the college football chaos was absolutely phenomenal for the first weekend. Chelsa, fantastic stuff. As always, let's end it with this. Remind people where they can catch your show and they get the updates from you here on The Zone that run in our commercial breaks. But tell them about the Daily Tip.
Yeah, if you want to listen, we are on 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern, so 5 to 8 a.m. Central Time, very early. If you don't want to wake up that early, just search the Daily Tip wherever you get your podcast. We have nice little segments with all our betting previews for the weekend's action. Just search the Daily Tip and follow me on Twitter at Chelsa Messinger. And as always, roast my picks if you'd like. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Chelsa Messinger. All right, when we come back,
Messenger.
I have some facts about Mike Vrabel that I think people are going to be really interested in. That could be some good news possibly for Sunday based on something with Mike Vrabel, but you got to come back to know what they are. Come on back.
No one wants to go to the vehicle repair shop. It's like going to the doctor for an operation. The typical first reaction is, how do I know that I really need what they say I need? Well, sometimes you really wonder if you're getting a repair recommendation or making someone else's mortgage payment. Blaine Bishop to tell you that people are tired of getting bamboozled. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired of auto repair shops, come on over to Eurofix. Eurofix repairs everything European. So if you feel like you've been lied to or taken advantage of when it comes to auto repair, come on over to Eurofix. Eurofix will always tell you the difference between a recommendation and a must-do. Get a free 15-minute no-rinse inspection at every visit. No appointment necessary. Just come when you want to come. And Eurofix also offers a free nationwide 3-year, 36-month warranty on all work. Plus a free rental car with reservation on every repair so you're not stranded sitting around all day. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX Monday through Friday. Or you can just visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But I always tell them Blaine said you.
Oh, watch out.
What?
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. That's what he was going to say. They clipped that. It was in the song. It says, watch out. But they clipped it. It's just the music. Talking Heads. Who David Lee Roth once described as ugly music for ugly people. I don't know why he said that about the Talking Heads.
Oh,
but he did. I like the Talking Heads.
They need to quit, asking us all these entertainers, athletes included, like they know what they're talking about.
Well, he said that about fellow musicians. I thought that was uncool, Dave. And I'm a big Dave guy.
Outside of their industry. That was kind of in his industry.
Well, it is in his industry. I mean, they technically would have competed
So he
with
was
him.
hating?
He was hating. He called
He was
the
hating?
band Chic the Led Zeppelin of dance music as well.
Come on,
it's in
man.
his
Don't be
book.
hating, man.
I bought his book. If you need to borrow it, anybody, let me know. I'll find it in a box in my garage, and you can read it. Mike Vrabel, he was apparently reading books about the NFC in his garage, because listen to this. Since he has been named the Titans head coach in 2018, the Titans are tied for second best interconference winning percentage in the NFL. They're 13-4 against the NFC.
Oh, so
under Vrabes.
So we're moving to the NFC?
And I know. Jeff Fisher always seemed to be good against the NFC. You guys always beat NFC teams.
Well, any out of conference game because you over prepare because you feel like you don't know them as well. So the scouting reports on those teams, man, it's like, dang, this is a little bit of a book. So you want to get to know them as much as possible, the personnel, let alone watch them on film. So you kind of watch more games than you normally would, or cut-ups. They call them cut-ups. And kind of breaking it down a distance. So, yeah, and you end up feeling like you're now prepared as though you're playing a team in division, Colts, whoever else, Jaguars, Texans. So, yeah, that kind of happens. So, and the coaches do the same thing.
Titans also looking for their fifth straight win against that was interconference. They're looking for their fifth straight win against the NFC. They lost to the Cardinals. Then they beat Seattle and the Rams and New Orleans and San Francisco last year, but their interconference winning percentage under Mike Vrabel, 765. That's good for second in the league. The Chiefs are first. The Chiefs are 14-3 in the same time, which doesn't surprise me. They're the Chiefs. But this is another thing that's interesting about the Titans. Like where people never bring up the Titans as being good at anything except handing the ball to Derrick Henry. This 765 winning percentage that they have interconference under Vrabel, it's tied with two other teams, the Ravens and the Packers. And most of the time, people talk about especially the Packers there and Rodgers, the Titans got the same record against interconference teams as they do. Ravens seem to always get respect. Just John Harbaugh and the way they kind of run that ship there. Titans have the same interconference record as them. Better than the Saints, better than the Bills, better than the Buccaneers, better than the Seahawks, the Rams, and the Colts, who are the others listed below them. But it's funny to me. This team won 12 games last year, and I know there's no A.J. Brown, and the last thing that everybody remembers is how Ryan Tannehill performed in that game. But they're just being written off. Even Chelsa Messinger was like, can we hear anything else about the Colts?
Right.
Let's get some more Colts stuff on our Twitter feed.
Well, today is not Friday, but I'm calling my shot that the Texans beat the Colts in week 1 in the opener in Houston. I'm calling my shot, so remind me that's my shot. Yeah, I kind of called that shot on 92Q earlier.
Nice. Sister station.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can also listen to me there every Thursday. But, yeah.
Well, the Colts
they might play it on Fridays, though, yeah.
Colts had their way with him last year, beat them up pretty good in both of the games.
What convinced me is Sean Salisbury yesterday talking to Mr. Unfiltered. Yeah, he's buying into what I think potentially because they played the Titans close both times and Mills looked great that second time. He actually kind of scared me like, whoa, this is not the same guy. He's turning into something decent. He has all the tools, and they kind of molded it. We'll see where he starts off this year, but if the Colts think they're just going to walk in there and dominate them like they have in the past, I'm interested to see if that happens. I think the Texans and the Jaguars, man, you just never can sleep on those teams because they have capable players. Just now, do you have the right coach, right scheme and system? And we'll see. But they have playmakers,
He loves that rookie running back they got, the kid out of Florida.
Yeah, Pierce.
Whoa.
Yeah. A lot of people have been talking about him. I can't wait to see him, just not against the Titans.
Against other teams.
Yeah, I want to see him early, see if he's the real deal.
The rookie safety, they're starting the rookie cornerback. I mean, they're counting on some young people. Yeah. Of course, the Titans are counting on a bunch of young people.
Yeah, so we shall see who grows up the fastest. Burks, where are you at? Sorry, not asking you to be A.J. Brown. not like a lot of people, but I'm asking you to be a contributor. I'm asking you to be part of this program and make some plays. If you go 3 for 50 or something like that, I'm good. That's about where I want you to. You just keep doing that. Then all of a sudden, next thing you know, your confidence is building in this league that you can be dominant. And then that's all it takes is one catch and you do something spectacular. Then you feel like, now I got it.
That's why I brought up the thing yesterday with him, and you quickly extinguished my flame. It was like, well, they don't really do that.
I want them to do it.
I know.
Go ahead, say that.
We just have the history of them not doing it, of them just saying like, hey, man, somebody other than Derrick Henry is going to get fed today. We're going to force this guy 8 touches. Nope. They don't do that.
Yeah, they kind of go where the read is. There's a lot to me. Like, here's a good example. I'm going to just use playoff games. We can go last year, he threw the NWI. The year before, Khalif Raymond in the playoffs. It's 3rd down, and this is a play that you have to make to win. We're not going to A.J. Brown. Force it to him, not them. So that's 2 times in critical. I'm not even talking about regular season. The most critical of all critical situations. Nope, that's where my progression read took me. Go watch Aaron Rodgers force it to Devontae Adams and get a pick. Nope, I'm throwing it to him. Yeah, they didn't care. Meanwhile, the other guy on the other side, wide open on the dig route.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, so they're not going to do it. And that's how they're kind of trained. And really, that's the right thing to do. Go to the guy where the coverage is. Doesn't mean he's going to win. Sometimes the human element of trusting a guy that, hey, even regardless if he's double teamed, that I'm going to give him the ball. Here's a good example why they should do this sometime. They do it with Derrick Henry. Every team is doing 8-man front, and they say, we're going to keep giving him the ball. So they have the capability of doing it. It's just when it comes to passing. They did, and some of that is Tannehill, some of it, the calls. I mean, sometimes it's just the defense, what they're trying to force them to go. And to me, that becomes predictable. Every defense knows their weaknesses and where you're going to go based off of certain routes. So they're going to say, okay, your 3rd wide or your 2nd wide has to beat our 2nd corner. And we feel like we got a great shot of winning. Hey, it's hard to deny, but I want them to do that. To be honest, I want them to force feed the studs. Force feed them.
And with Burks, I feel like.
But we can't anoint Burks yet because he
know.
hasn't. And see, we're going into week 1. That's why I said week 4 or 5, because I think he will be at that point. But we can't force feed him when he's really hasn't shown. He's shown flashes, but he didn't show enough in preseason really to say, oh, man, we got to get him the ball.
I just mean like he's so big. Like
He is.
stuff close to the line of scrimmage. It doesn't have to even be down the field. Like just the plays that are almost similar to run plays where you're essentially just putting the ball in his hands.
Do you want him to do punt return?
Oh, God, no. If he goes back there on punt return, I'm going to be pissed. And not many things make me mad.
Yeah.
But like the end of the Dory era, who we're going to see on Sunday,
Yeah.
him being out there at punt returner when you knew he didn't want to do it.
That's going to be an interesting matchup with Dory Jackson. And a lot of people talking about that. I saw, I heard Bayer talking about their relationship and their families and how they're close and everything else. But Dory Jackson, first round pick, fascinating player and continued to get better until he got injured there at the end. But I would say he's kind of like Fulton, like really good player. But is he on the elite plane yet? I don't know. So I'm interested to see how he matches up against some of these taller, bigger receivers because he's a dynamic, athletic, smallish corner that makes plays. So I want to see if his athleticism gets tested with the bigger, taller receivers that the Titans have.
Well, they do have a type, and it is big and tall receivers. Wink Martindale, Baltimore's former defensive coordinator, now the defensive coordinator for the Giants, he has a type, a thing that he does a lot, and I'm going to ask Blaine about that next. Watch out, that kind of thing.
Just blitz.
Kick off week 1. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. With America's #1 sportsbook. You join today and get started with $150 in free bets, and that's guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up with the promo code Mickey, and you're right there in on the action. Then you can turn game day into payday all season long. So, $150 in free bets. I like the Titans to beat the Giants this week, and I like the Ravens as well. But find a bet or bets that you like and make your bets. Maybe you want to combine some bets for a parlay with a bigger payout opportunity. So don't fumble your chance to win $150 in free bets. Come on, win or lose with promo code Mickey, Mickey. You can make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. You do have to be 21 or older. You got to be present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Ole Miss.
Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday to you. Good to have you with us today. Lots of Titans talk coming up in this hour. We talked some betting stuff with Chelsa Messinger earlier. You can check that out on the Blaine and Mickey podcast, wherever you consume all your favorite podcasts. We're also going to do this. Vols and Pittsburgh have a big game coming up Saturday. Two ranked teams, and Noah Hiles, who covers Pittsburgh for the Post-Gazette in Pittsburgh, is going to join us to talk about what the Fighting Pat Narduzzi's are up to. I think this is going to be a really good game. I mean, Tennessee's a pretty big favorite, but
How big? Like 5 or 6
it
points?
was 5.5, I think, this morning, or 6
On the road,
when I looked. On the road.
And Pitt is ranked at like 22, and UT's at
Pittsburgh
like
17.
17.
Pittsburgh 17. Tennessee is 24. It's 6 now.
Yeah, well, after that performance versus West Virginia, I don't know if they can even keep up with the UT's offense. Yeah, I'm definitely my money would be on UT for sure. Yeah, I think revenge factor. Now they're much more comfortable under the hypo regime. I don't see anyway. And then this up tempo. They had to be practicing all off season. Now they do bring some really good defensive linemen, and their scheme on defense is pretty cool. I mean, they do some really good things there. I think the coach is Bates, who coached me in my freshman year. He's the DC. My freshman year at St. Joseph's College in Rensselaer, Indiana.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. He's the DC.
Is that not a thing anymore?
What?
St. Joseph's College? Or just football?
It had to have sports.
Okay, no more sports. Boy, you caught them at the right time. Sorry, man.
I don't know.
Intramurals.
They always have some good schemes, but that up tempo. I mean, 12 seconds you run and play. I just don't. I don't see it. I think they're going to be pumped up for greatness after getting beat last year. So I think they're going to get them. And then if what is it? West Virginia put up 31. What do you think Hyper's offense going to do? Tennessee.
Well, West Virginia.
Really?
Typically, Pittsburgh's good against the run. They ran it down their throat.
Well,
and Tennessee's second best run offense in the SEC last year. They will run it down their throat if they're not careful.
But they like to throw the ball.
They do.
So that should open up the running lane. So I just see. I don't even think this. I think they're going to win by 10 or more.
Oh, you're taking the over.
Yeah, I'm way over. I don't. Yeah,
the way over. I like it.
Yeah, I don't know about the what's his Slovis? What's his name from transfer from
Keaton Slovis?
Yeah, from USC. He is definitely not Pickett. So yeah, I watched him. I don't know, man. I think they should. I think they're gonna get after him. I really do.
Wink Martindale's defense. Let's switch to some Titans talk here real quick. Wink Martindale. If you have followed the Titans closely, and if you're listening to the show, you probably do. He's been the DC with the Ravens for the last 4 years, 18, 19, 20, 21, and then now he's with the New York Giants. This is his blitz percentage ranking. His defense is the last 4 years. First. And then they dropped to 6th last year. The Ravens did. But first.
Then they let him go.
First. It's hey, man,
you
didn't blitz enough. You're supposed to be first. So, Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry. We know what Wink Martindale wants to do. I mean, it's an interesting thing because you've got to prepare for Wink Martindale's defense. So you're watching Ravens film, I guess. And then you got to prepare for Brian Daboll, who came from Buffalo. Or maybe you could watch some Alabama film because he was at Alabama. But then the guy who's now calling plays, there was a question, is Mike Kafka. He was on your guy Andy Reid's staff at Kansas City. Mm-hmm. What's it like to try to smorgasbord all the freaking – and then you want to know the Giants personnel because you don't ever play the Giants.
And how they fit in the personnel.
Holy crap, dude.
Yeah, it's a little different. That's what I said. That first week is always – and I feel uncomfortable. What I would do is I would go – watch Buffalo's offense, and we played them, and Daboll was calling the call, so I would use that as my really go-to, this is where we need to be, and then try to match up their personnel that they have at New York and see where they may, you see a little bit in preseason maybe, but where they will put the personnel and then kind of go from there, and then, you can never duplicate personnel. I mean, they got, Shaq, Barkley at running back, he was a special talent as long as he stays healthy, so. And they got a decent offensive line. Everything is just decent. Nothing is like, whoa, man, they got a great player here besides Shaq, right? So you go, okay, well, they're a solid team, NFL team, and they get it rolling and build some confidence, and they're in the game come the fourth quarter, this is a team that you don't want to do that. You want to bury them early. Let them know that, who the Titans are and we're going to be dominant. And sometimes that doesn't bear out because of the style of play that we play. And I'm going to say we, because being a former Titan, is because they're just running the football. And so you're always a score away or two away. So you get one score, you're back in the game. So that's why I want them to throw the ball. You could be dominating the game and then, one blitz or missed tackle, and boom, they're right back in the game. So I think you gotta get after. I mean, early. I mean, you dominant. The first half, you should be walking away like, hey, man, we have about 14. We about to destroy them now. Yeah. But if you let them hang around, a young team like this, and Daniels has something to play for, the quarterback, because he's playing for a contract.
They didn't pick up his option.
Yeah, so he's playing for, he's like, hey, I'm about to get paid. But if not y'all, then I'm going to be a backup in this league. So, yeah, they have players. They definitely got that Tony kid who I thought, man, was one of the shiftiest dudes around. And then they got your other small guy, Wandale, from Kentucky, right?
Yep, Wandale Robinson.
Yeah,
yep.
So, they have two of the guys. Then they have Shepard, who I don't know if he's going to play or not. So they have capable players. I'm interested to see what they look like. But this is one of the times, like that first week, there's going to be some upsets. And I'm already picked my, the Texans over the Colts at home in Houston. But I don't think this one. I think the Titans, their personnel is just better. Eventually, the talent wins out unless there's some crazy, wacky turnovers or fumbles and kickoff return for a touchdown, something like that. If everything goes copacetic, the Titans win.
Well, it was the Titans and the Patriots last year, right, where the Titans kept running the ball down their throat and then fumbling the ball?
Yeah.
Like everybody had a fumble that day?
That better not happen. And if that happens, then somebody gonna get chewed out by a variable.
He might blow a gasket.
Yeah.
Azeez Ojulari, who we talked about a lot coming out of the draft, I really liked him. He had 8 sacks last year. There's a thought that he won't be back until week 2 or later. Then they draft Kayvon Thibodeau, and we were talking about him yesterday.
Maybe,
Same Giants beat writer. I found a guy. I was Twitter searching their names. Like, I wonder if they're going to be back. They were both, I think, limited yesterday on the practice report. And there's a Giants beat writer who reported yesterday he doesn't think either one of them will be back until week 2 at least. So you're basically at second liners now at their best pass rush options.
Well, that definitely favors the Titans in getting into the passing game. And maybe Burks, NWI, Woods, and Phillips, and whoever else the fifth guy is.
Boy, that's
whoever that may be. I see my man who I wanted him to sign retired.
I know.
Yeah, I told you. I said I didn't know if he was retired or not because I saw him doing TV.
Manuel Sanders.
Guess what his stats were last year? He had 626 yards.
Boy, you plug that in, couldn't you?
That's exactly what I'm looking for. The 500-yard guy, veteran guy, don't ask much, but when you're out there, be productive, great route runner. And he's not a speed demon. He can't get by you, but he's not a speed demon like, Fuller, as everybody else is mentioning, that I said I wouldn't sign until after the first of the year, so you had to guarantee his contract.
Well, it's all on the table after Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, you can sign any of those rascals. I pay them week by week. Cut them if you want to cut them.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. It's, week 1 for the NFL, but I'm interested to see where college football goes to with the second week. Because that's finicky too, man. I mean, Georgia blowing out Oregon like that, I'm like, uh-oh. It's about to come down to Georgia and Alabama. I knew it would, but Georgia is going to defend their title. They are. They coming out. And Bennett now, his confidence is at an all-time high. I'm a big fan of his.
I know.
Underdog, too small, can't get it done. They kept writing him. I'm like, the guy's doing nothing but winning. Well, I mean, really? Because you got all these 4- and 5-star dudes behind him. Well, they can't beat him out. The coach is in the business of winning.
Right.
So why ain't he playing?
Well,
he left.
And when it came down to it in the national championship game, that dude got up off the mat and he came through.
Mm-hmm. And he had some rough patches where he could have caved in too, and he did not.
I wonder how much NIL money that dude's making at Georgia.
Hey, I don't know, but Stetson Bennett, man, I think that's why I asked Chelsa. I think he's going to win the Heisman, man. I love it. I hope he does. And they go back to back. Really, I do, because if somebody told you he meets you in regular clothes, he probably looks about like me and you, size wise, height wise, and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm Stetson
He's
Bennett."
not 6 feet tall, is he?
No, I think he's like 5'10", 11.
Well, I wish I was 5'10" or
Look
11.
at you.
I'd be unstoppable
He's,
in life.
he's like in life.
I probably
wow.
could have touched the rim in basketball if I was 5'10".
Oh my, touch the
I
rim.
could almost touch the rim. I could touch the bracket that held up the rim.
In your heyday.
In my heyday. That's all the jump I had in me.
All right.
I did the leaper machine.
Oh, you did?
Remember that?
Yeah, you
I
was
get
right.
that thing revved up. Explosive, like 23-inch vert.
And that's basically how people look at Stetson Bennett.
Poor Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, like you just a little too small. You don't look the part, man. Come on. That don't mean he can't do it. He did it.
Did it. He's got a big ring to prove it. I would love for him to. I'm right there with you. Him at the Heisman ceremony would be amazing. See that dude win the Heisman.
Yep.
Then he could join Toretta and Associates Insurance Agency. Like all the guys who won the Heisman. My friend Kyle Johnson has a joke that like every quarterback who wins the Heisman never makes it in the pros, so they wind up selling insurance together. Yeah. And he refers to them as Toretta and Associates in honor of the great Gino Toretta, who was a fantastic college player.
He was.
Just great. And some of you are like, who's that? Go Google it. On the Miami squad when they were still the U. Oh, man. And they were brash, and they were winning all those games, and that dude won the Heisman. And then I don't know if he threw 10 NFL passes. But it doesn't matter because he got his Heisman, and he got his ring, and now he's got his Toretta and Associates.
I never seen him in the pitch. I mean, the Heisman commercials.
He should be there.
No.
We need to lobby that because I love those commercials. I also love this. It's a return of Titans Ticket Thursday. If you want to be caller number 5 now, you can win 2 tickets to see your Tennessee Titans host the New York Giants this Sunday at Nissan Stadium. Plus two tickets to the Titans VIP tailgate at the Bridge Building, all thanks to Bullseye Event Group. Ooh, you want to win this. Caller 5 now, 615-737-1045. Vols and Pitt Panthers talk next. Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. Happy Thursday to you. Of course, talk some Titans today. That's coming up on Sunday here on The Zone. You'll hear that. But on Saturday on The Zone, you'll hear the Vols taking on Pittsburgh for the second year in a row. And why don't we just go to Pittsburgh where the game's going to be played and get us some information. Noah Hiles joins us now. Works for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette covering those Panthers. He is at _Noah Hiles. Noah, welcome to Nashville Radio. How you doing today?
I'm good. It's good to be down south. Never been to Nashville, but now I can say I've been on the Nashville radio, so that's kind of cool, I guess, right?
Well, I mean, it's not like riding in a pedal tavern or hear girls scream, woo, at a bachelorette party, but it's close, being on the radio with us.
Or people singing Rocket Top.
I know you don't like to brag on yourself. I was reading your Twitter, but to give people some background, I know you don't ever like to tell this story, but you tackled an NFL tight end once. Is that right? A guy with an infamous name, Jesse James. What?
You guys have done your research. So, yeah, an inside joke. I played Western Pennsylvania, known to produce some NFL talent, and I was incredibly below average in high school football. So my job was to pretty much be like a Cortland Finnegan type player. You guys know what that's about.
Why you pick somebody small, man? Why you pick somebody small?
Yeah. Well, I'm small. I'm not a big guy, so I had to go after the big guy and everything. But my claim to fame is, yes, I tackled Jesse James, and but we played against him in high school twice. But the first time we were down like 38-3 or something, I jumped on his back. He carried me like 10 yards. But anytime his name comes up on Twitter, if you go to my Twitter account and just search the word Jesse James on things I've tweeted about, there's probably 100 tweets. And I always just say the same thing. People don't talk a lot about how I tackled this guy. And it's an inside joke in my family, my friend group. He scored a touchdown last year on Thanksgiving, and I pretty much got kicked out of the house. Like, everyone immediately knew what was coming. So, yeah, but I can't express how happy it makes me that this story of my athletic prowess has gone to a different time zone. I mean, it's traveling. Word goes far, I guess.
Well,
wait a minute. You didn't explain how you tackled him.
They say rode him, jumped on his back.
Oh, I want to hear details. Like, did it hurt? Was it painful? I mean, would you do it again?
The full backstory. I was at that year. I was a sophomore. I was our backup at safety. And my friend Kurt, who was starting ahead of me, actually got stretchered off the field and flighted to a hospital in this game. And then they were like, all right, Noah, you go in there and try to do your best. And I was like, okay, that's not good.
I got thoughts and prayers. Hope he's okay.
Yeah, and, I mean, he had a monster game against us this time. The next year we actually held him without any catches, which was kind of cool. But this game he had plenty of them, and one of them came against me. And it was kind of like the movie Little Giants, where the guy jumps on Spike's back and he just continues running, except I thankfully was able to hold on to his sock or something and brought him down. And it's given me over 10 years of glory now. So that's good to get to talk about.
Well, I know you don't like to talk about it, so sorry.
I don't like to talk about it, but if you want to bring that up, we could talk about it all day, actually. Forget Pitt, Tennessee.
Noah Hiles, noted tackler of Jesse James, our guest. Also in his spare time, he covers Pitt for the legendary Post-Gazette. Before we get into any Vols, and I'll let Blaine start that, but I just have to say this before we get into Vols Pittsburgh. How much fun it was. I was in Disney World with my family, and when they went to bed, I sat up and I watched the end of the backyard brawl, and I enjoyed it so much.
My family.
I've never experienced – I mean, that was my first game on this beat. I just started on the Pitt beat this summer. Oh. So for that to be your first game covering – I've been to plenty of Pitt games. I grew up in this area. But for that to be your first game covering anything at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette of all places, too, I mean, what a memory. And it just so happened the kid who made the pick six, MJ Devonshire, I've been covering him since he was in high school, so I know him pretty well. And just a very, very crazy night, the largest sporting event in the history of the city of Pittsburgh that evening. And it lived up to the hype that was created over an 11-year hiatus on a rivalry that never should have stopped being played.
Amen to that. Noah Hiles, our guest. You need to follow him for his musings on tackling Jesse James and more at _Noah Hiles, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette.
Well, Noah, I guess hearing that, what did you learn from game one about Pittsburgh? And I know everything kind of changed in that first week into the second week, but, what did you see, in the team with the new quarterback or new coordinator, so kind of give us the 411.
I'll start with some strengths. The main thing that stood out to me, and this was something that we kind of knew going in, is this team is incredibly deep up front on defense. Someone else pointed out to Coach Narduzzi in a press conference earlier this week that they had 23 different combinations on the defensive line against West Virginia. That just shows how much depth they really have. One of their captains up front, Desmond Alexander, went down with an injury late in the second quarter. His replacement, John Morgan, played the best game out of any Pitt defender. I think he had 3 tackles for loss, a sack, and had a whole bunch of pressure the entire game up the middle. And that's just what they have. They have some of their biggest recruits recently, including Elliott Donald, who's Aaron Donald's nephew or cousin. They don't even get a chance to see the field because there's so many redshirt seniors, guys from the transfer portal, graduate kind of guys who have been around for so long and can play at a very high level. A lot of people know about Kalijah Cansey. He's probably a potential first-round pick, second-team All-American in the preseason, but it's way more than just him. They have a lot of size, strength, and athleticism and depth that can cause a lot of problems both in the run game and against the pass. However, West Virginia did run the ball against them very well in that, which didn't sit well with Coach Narduzzi. Another quick strength I will point out is I was very impressed with how the receivers played despite losing what was the best receiver in the country last year. And Jordan Addison, a lot of people expected that to be a major blow to this team, having a guy that looked to be a shoo-in for another All-American spot just go up and leave and go out west to play for the Trojans. But I was really impressed with a couple of guys who transferred in here, one of them being Bub Means, who used to play over for Tennessee. I think he was a defensive back then. But they had a strong showing, especially with their ability to get yards after the catch. Those were some positives I took away from Pitt. Some negatives, their offensive line could have been better. They were very vocal about that from Monday throughout the entire week about how they need to be better protecting Keaton Slovis, how they need to do a little bit better creating run lanes, and especially with Tennessee's high-tempo offense, how, time of possession is super key. So they need to run the football and be able to keep Hendon Hooker and company off the field as much as possible. So that's been a big point of emphasis, along with stopping the run on the defensive side of the ball.
Noah Hiles from Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. I guess, what are Pittsburgh's expectation for this season? Like, are they thinking they're going to go, win the ACC and go to a big-time bowl? Or, even going into this game, do they understand that, Tennessee is going to be out for revenge? And, how do they think they stack up against the elite programs in the country?
It's funny, because if you look at their schedule, these first 2 games are their biggest tests until arguably their last game of the regular season. And that was the talk all summer long, was if Pitt can go 2-0, if you look at who they have next on the schedule, they go to Western Michigan, they play Rhode Island, they have Georgia Tech, and then you get into some conference opponents. You might have a trap game against a Virginia or a North Carolina, but Louisville certainly didn't look that great in week 1. And, just look around. They don't have the great ACC teams like the Clemsons, the NC States of that stature. They're not playing them this year. And until Miami, they really don't have a test. This could be the best team that they face throughout the whole regular season. So if they can get a win here, the expectation is they're going to be in contention at the very least to play in the ACC championship again and maybe flirting with the college football playoff spot. Because if you start the season off with a win over West Virginia, then a win at home over a ranked Tennessee team who I firmly believe will end the season in the top 15, 20 in the country. I think this is a very good team that they're playing. Then you get a whole bunch of easy games that you just don't have to get upset in throughout the whole rest of the year, which is easier said than done. And then you top it off against probably what will be a top 15, top 10 battle against Miami, go into the ACC championship against Clemson or NC State, and you have a very clear path on how to get to the playoff. It comes down to executing, which, Pitt kind of fails to do from time to time. But with this group having the experience it had last year, getting to a New Year's Six Bowl, winning a conference title, and having as much talent returning as it does, the expectation, at least within the program, is to compete for a national championship. I'd say the expectation within the city, from the people who cover it, from the people who pay money to watch them, is that this could be a 9-10 win team very easily.
How did Pitt, new offensive coordinator and the new quarterback, Slovis, how did you feel like they're working together in this first game?
Well, Signetti's been here before, and when he was here before, they loved to run the football, and the offense looked at its best when they were running the ball against West Virginia on Thursday. Rodney Hammond came in for Izzy Abanikanda, and his physical presence changed the whole dynamic of that game. And they're going to want to run the football against Tennessee as well. However, I think we saw the good and the bad that comes from Keaton Slovis. And that part of that bad might have been the adjustment to a new offensive coordinator and just a new team, new line, new players to throw the ball to or hand the ball off to. Some of those 5 sacks that Slovis suffered were, I think, his fault. I think he had bad pocket presence, especially in the fourth quarter. But when it came crunch time, they needed to go 92 yards to tie the game late in the fourth quarter, and he made it happen. He went 5 for 5 on that drive, including the game-tying touchdown pass. So there was a lot to like. There was a lot to still be desired, both on his end and the offensive coordinator's end. And it's just interesting that their first 2 games are these type of challenges. Like your first game as an OC and as a quarterback for a new program is a rivalry game with a huge crowd, and then you get to follow that up by going against an SEC team. First time an SEC team has ever played in the city of Pittsburgh, by the way.
Wow.
And you have that going on for week 2. So it's really trial by fire here. And like I said, if they can continue to survive and advance, they have a really good shot to have a very exciting season.
Real quick, I guess, so what's the status of the health of the team after week 1 in, an old school rivalry?
They had a couple guys get banged up. There's not a lot of discussion in these parts about injury status. I know that 2 key players that were banged up were Desmond Alexander, the starting defensive lineman who's a captain on the team. He left in the second quarter with looked to be an upper body injury. One of his teammates told us in the post-game presser Thursday night a week ago that he was going to play in this game. So, but that's just a 23-year-old kid, trying to gas up his friend. So who knows what that really means. Narduzzi mum's the word on all of this. And then for Hammond Jr., we don't know. I mean, he was bumped up. He was the running back who came in for Abanikanda and had a phenomenal game. I think 130 total yards of offense and 2 touchdowns. He was bumped up on the depth chart from second to co-starter, which means the way Pitt does it, they'll put you in bold if you're a starter, and if there's a starting committee at the position, they have a big "or" in all capital letters. And so he was moved up on the starting depth chart, even though he suffered an injury late in the fourth quarter that took him out for the rest of the game against WVU. So I don't know if that's Narduzzi trying to make Tennessee prepare for someone who might not be playing, or if it's him saying, no, this kid balled out. He's earned a starting spot. I can't tell which one's which. We don't get to see much in practice, and we don't get a lot of information from anyone involved in practice. But that's what I've got on the injury front for everything that I know.
Noah Hiles, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette.
You know what's crazy about this game is if anybody should know Hendon Hooker, it's Pat Narduzzi. Every game or every season in his career, no matter where he's been, he's played against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he said that. He said, we're playing Hendon Hooker for the 12th time. That's what that was his quote on Monday. And it's very interesting if you go back and look at those matchups. The first time he played them, Pitt got stunned by Virginia Tech. I think the final score was 28-0, and Hooker was phenomenal that game. If you look at the second time he played him when he was a Hokie, Pitt destroyed Virginia Tech. And a big reason why was because they had a fantastic day on the ground. They had, I think, a few running backs eclipse 100 yards, and that's just it. Keep him off the field. He's a weapon. And then you go back to last year, he comes in late in the game and almost pulls off a very dramatic comeback. A nice interception at the end prevented it. But this is a guy that, yes, Pitt has given a lot of respect to. Their defensive line coaches had great things to say about him. Narduzzi's had great things to say about him. Members of the secondary, members of the defensive line, linebackers, all of them understand what type of athlete is going to be running the Tennessee offense come Saturday. It's just knowing, what he's good at, what he's not, and the best way to beat him is, like I said, making sure he is not on the football field to have an opportunity to beat you. And I really think that's going to play a difference. I think the team who has the better time of possession wins this game.
Noah Hiles, our guest. Is it interesting to you, Noah, that the lower-ranked team that is on the road in this game is a 6-point favorite?
It is interesting. I will say, I mean, they were 3-point favorites before both teams even played a football game. I remember looking down the line to see if they even had a line on this game, and Tennessee was like a 3.5-point favorite before they played against Ball State and Pitt played against West Virginia. I mean, you can call it whatever you want. I mean, Tennessee did look really good against Ball State. I'll give them props there, but Pitt, I would argue West Virginia is probably better than Ball State. And in a rivalry game, I think that 7-point win probably means a little bit more. However, I personally thought that Tennessee should have been ranked to start the year. I think these two teams are right on the same level. If I was to, have the Noah Hiles poll, they would be like 16 and 17, and you could put them at either spot. So I think a 7-point favorite is a bit much. I'm not shocked that Tennessee is favored. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this one. It's tough to call who's actually going to win it, though.
At Noah Hiles, at _ Noah Hiles, our guest, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, covering the Pitt Panthers.
Well, no, one more for me, and I know you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but I want you to give me all the keys to the game if Pittsburgh were to win besides running the football. I think Slovis is going to have to step up. I think he's going to have to step up. I think they're going to be able to run the football, but they're going to have to throw it too.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing is they're going to need to be able to beat Tennessee deep. I think one area that Pitt does have an advantage is their receivers. I think their receivers match up well against the Tennessee secondary, especially the cornerback position. I'm a fan of what Tennessee has to offer at the safety positions, but if they could get one-on-one matchups on the outside, I think that's where Pitt needs to really win this game. And they have some height, they have some size, they have some speed, and they have a guy who can throw a pretty deep ball. The best pass of the game on Thursday night was by Slovis on a deep ball to Means, and he just dropped it. And we actually asked Narduzzi about that in his press conference a couple hours ago, if that was a point of emphasis in practice. And he said, absolutely. We're not going to handcuff the offense just because the deep ball didn't work in the first week. So I would expect a lot of deep shots, and probably early on they're going to want to jump out ahead and get this crowd rocking once again to keep that momentum going. That would be one place that I look at. Another place, there's a lot to take away from last year's matchup between Pitt and Tennessee. But the thing that stands out to me, and as cliche as it is, Pitt forced 3 turnovers. Tennessee forced none. And that Brandon Hill interception at the end is what did him in. So I think with Tennessee's up-tempo offense, sure, you run a lot of plays, you get a lot of opportunities to put points on the board. It also has a lot of opportunities to force a mistake if you're the Pitt defense. They have a lot of experience in that secondary. You saw what capabilities they have when it comes to changing the game late in the fourth quarter against West Virginia last year. MJ Devonshire had a fantastic game, not just one good play over at corner, and they have a ton of experience at safety. So I think that if they can force a couple of turnovers and create some extra possessions for their offense, Pitt's going to have a huge advantage over Tennessee.
No, great stuff, man, and good storytelling and fun stuff. And you got a great Twitter, lots of fantastic information on there. People need to follow you at _ Noah Hiles. Again, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, anywhere they consume the Post-Gazette, they can read your work. Thank you, sir, for the time.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely. And thank you again for the Jesse James shout out. I can't express how happy that made me.
We know that you wouldn't talk about it yourself. We felt like it was something
I would
we
never
needed to
bring
do.
it up.
I know that.
All right.
We know that. Thank you, sir. Have a
All right,
great
thank
day.
you.
All right, when we come back, we're going to combine the fastest growing sport in the world and Blaine Bishop. Yep, that's what we're going to do. Blaine and Mickey, 1045 The Zone. Two hunks of burning love, I guess, as it were. Tennessee Titans, here's a hunk of burning injury report right quick. Did not practice Lonnie Johnson or Elijah Molden, and they didn't practice yesterday. Add Chance Campbell, the rookie linebacker, to that. It was groin for the two DBs. It is a knee for Chance Campbell. Limited participation, Jamarco Jones, who's a backup offensive lineman with the triceps, and Ola Daney added to the injury report today, limited neck for Ola. Yeah. Makes my neck, that hurts my neck just thinking about it. This makes me happy just thinking about it. A huge event coming up in Nashville, and it's so big it takes like two people to tell us about it. It involves pickleball, which Lucas didn't know about pickleball, which shocked me. It's like the fastest growing sport in the world. Mm-hmm. Big event coming up in Nashville. We'll bring in Jim Arnold and Billy McGee now, who are going to tell us a little bit about this thing. The second annual Great American 911 Pickleball Marathon hits Nashville on Sunday.
Thanks for coming on, guys. Can you hear us?
We can hear you. This is Billy McGee. How are you
Billy
guys?
McGee, who's an entrepreneur and, pretty much connects everybody in the sports industry across the country. And Jim Arnold, everybody knows his name, Vandy, All-American, Hall of Famers, as well as the 75th anniversary Detroit Lion, and he punted for years. So, thank you guys for coming on and kind of get started. Tell us how pickleball came about here in Nashville. I know this is your second event of having pickleball marathon here in 9/11, but just kind of give us a backdrop real quick of pickleball and what people expect and where it's going to be.
Okay. As most people remember me from the years of the Nashville Cats when I came in 96 to start the Cats, and we had quite a great run then. About 4 years ago, I began looking at the sport here in Florida, where I'm based, Southwest Florida, and realized that this sport will probably, as it grows, will outgrow tennis and it will outgrow racquetball. Mm-hmm. I grew up playing tennis, played professional tennis, and in the height of the 80s, we were at 70-plus million. I look at the pickleball to maybe pass that and grow to 100 million over the next decade. Mm-hmm. The sport has exploded up the East Coast, Florida, across the Southwest Belt, and up California, and it's just now making its way into the mid part of America. I wanted to come back to Nashville because your top lady pro, who plays all over the world, Stephanie Lane, we call her the queen of Nashville pickleball, had asked me 3 years ago to come to Nashville because they could not get pickleball courts built. And I had promised her that we would come and get that done. We were sidetracked by COVID. And then, of course, about 5 weeks ago, we did a Great American Pickleball Festival to showcase the sport. And it looks like now Nashville, their developers, their builders, the metro parks have seen the light, so to speak. And I think you're going to see dozens, if not, maybe 100 courts built in the next 2 years in Nashville to start to accommodate the need for the sport in the community. You now have 2,000 to 3,000 players playing, but in the next 2 years, you may see that number triple or quadruple just because the demand is there.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Jim. I was sitting there watching at a bar pickleball maybe 6 months ago on national TV, and how many people were surrounding me just watching pickleball. So that that shows you the growth and where this is going. What Billy is saying. I guess we only have a couple minutes here. Just kind of tell us where everyone can see pickleball, and if they want to find any information about anything about pickleball in this tournament going on this weekend on Sunday, please let us know.
Well, this Sunday we're going to be outside in the courtyard of the Skirmerhorn from 9:30 to 4:30. We encourage everybody. I know there's a Titans game, but this ties in so well because of our charity, which is one of our local firefighter foundations here, and with 9/11 and remembering that fateful day when the towers came down. The fact that the Titans are playing the Giants, which that ties into the New York theme there as well. But we'll be out there. We're going to have pros playing and introduce people to pickleball. But not only that, come by and drop a buck or two in the boot or the bucket to help us raise money for these wonderful causes.
Tunnel for
We'll be
Towers,
there.
right?
Yeah. No, we've got actually, Billy, tell me, it's the National Firefighters Foundation, and there's something else on there. I'm sorry. I'm getting old. I can't remember all that.
Tunnel to
Billy,
Towers
tell 'em
Foundation. But
We're going to be working, gentlemen. We're going to be working with the Nashville Firefighters Foundation,
Okay.
which is a great organization, and also with a Fire Buffs, which take care of the firefighters in all of your disasters, as well as another group called Blaze, which takes care of all the underprivileged youth in helping them find a way into a better life. So there'll be quite a few opportunities for people to just stop by the court. They're going to be walking towards the Titans game. We expect thousands of people to go by. They'll get to see pickleball for the first time, can meet some of the former great NFL players with Jim and Wayman Buggs and the guys, and some of the pros and some of the country music celebrities will be out there all day playing on the plaza.
yeah, what's the whole site real quick before we let you go in the website?
You can go to BMWOPB, Billy McGee World of Pickleball.com, and you can sign up to play. Here's the interesting part. We had 238,000 people play from their home courts last year. People register with us. They can play from anywhere in the United States as we promote this all over the U.S., and they can make donations simply by going to that website and clicking onto the Nashville Firefighters Foundation, and they make the direct donation there.
All righty, cool. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, and see you on Sunday at 9:30 at the Symphony Center.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, guys. Jim Arnold and Billy McGee. Time for us to go. We got to get out of here. But Blaine will be out there, so bring your pickleball racket and take a swing with the Hitman and more. Have some fun and raise money for a great cause. But a great show is coming up next on this show, on this station.
Yeah,
it's 3 HLs. We got to go.
Yeah, because I got to educate Lucas. But in the meantime,
In between time.
peace.